Welcome back. I'm hoping everybody doing well. Um, this video today is gonna be a little bit more in depth, I guess you could say. I'm gonna be talking about a lot of stuff that I think is very important for right now, and it's something that unless you know, you might not know, especially if you knew. So this is the two audiences. This can go to the people who are new to the truth, and this can also go to the people who have been in the truth for a while or think they have been in the truth. It's just something for you to think about and go back and study for yourself, as I always say. But here we go. Now, the first thing I'm gonna say is truth is very special because truth is truth no matter what time it is, no matter when it is. It's never gonna change. That's why I love truth. It's gonna be true 10 years ago, the same way it's gonna be true today. It's gonna be true 1,000 years ago, the same way it's gonna be true today. And that's why the word is so important, because it's true no matter what. Now, our living and breathing example of the truth was Yahusha himself. If you go study and look at the things he did, like I said before, he did a lot of things that are unexplainable, which would make you naturally want to ask or think or follow this man. That's why when he said, go and make disciples of all nations, that's what he's talking about. Because if you're living the way he did, then that's naturally going to happen and people are going to naturally follow you. Now, if you have nobody following you, nobody asking about you, nothing, then that should tell you that you're probably not doing the right thing. Now, what did Yahusha do while he was here? Well, he always pointed to the Father. He was an Israelite, and the Israelites were supposed to be the ones that were pointing to the Father because the Father gave them specific commands. Now, the law is not what saves you at all. If you just look at the law and only abide by the law and not by faith in Yahusha, which is what the Pharisees and Sadducees miss, you're going to miss something. And you can see this. The witness of that is, as I said before, if you read the Gospels, you'll see that the Pharisees and the Sadducees claim to be blameless in following the law of the Torah, but yet could not see who Yahusha himself was. That's how you know it's easy to miss the point if you're only focusing on the law. It also comes with faith. That's why when Yahusha was here, he always called them specifically snakes and vipers and things of that nature, because they claimed to be doing what the law said, but missed the whole point of what the law was pointing to, because they were only focused on doing the commandments and I must do this and I must do this, and if I do this, then I'm better than you. Yet they were missing the whole thing. When you follow the laws actually blamelessly, it's going to point you to something. An example of this would be the rich young ruler who said, and I might put that on the screen for you, and I'm paraphrasing also. He said, hey, what do I do? I've been following the law blamelessly. And Yahusha said, okay, we'll go sell all your possessions. And he went away sad because he was following the law but missed the whole point of it. The whole point of it is to see that you don't need anything. You're supposed to rely 100% on Yahusha, or I guess Yahusha hadn't died at that point, but you're supposed to rely 100% on the Father. And if the Father tells you to do this and you're not willing to do it, then that should tell you where you are within that. Now, I had to bring that up to tell you that just because somebody claims to know the Bible and they might have went to seminary school and did all of these different things does not mean that they're not misinterpreting the Bible. And if you start to do that and you misinterpret the Bible a lot, you're going to miss things. You're going to be a Pharisee, you're going to be a Sadducee, and the things that should be obvious to you, you're going to miss. That's why I prefaced this off by saying in the very beginning that truth is true no matter what time it is, and all of those different things. It's the same. It will remain the same. So if you have somebody nowadays telling you to do something opposite of what Yahusha did, then you should know, obviously, that it's not the truth. But we're so far from the truth that it's easy for people to be deceived, because we don't have anybody that is that beacon of light or to show anybody anymore. there's a lot of hypocrites that are out nowadays. So I'm gonna use a personal example so that you know that I'm not just making up something random. So when I was a child, I used to go to church, and when I went to church, there's a lot of things that I seen that were that made me question things. But as a kid, you don't really question too much. You just go with the flow because you're just a kid. You're just assuming that what you're around is right. But I digress. When I was younger, my father used to make me read the Bible for about an hour a day. Now, at first, as a kid, especially if you lived a normal, I'm just gonna use air quotations, American life or whatever, you're just out here trying to probably play a sport, play a video game, go outside, have fun, do whatever. You're not really worried about God or church because all that type of stuff seems kind of boring to you. But I definitely had to kind of check in with my father, so I couldn't just say I read it for an hour. I had to bring something to him. So since I have to read for an hour, I might as well try to get something out of it or see what's going on, especially if this is what we're claiming to live our life out of. Now, if I'm being honest, my middle name is Jeremiah, and when I read Jeremiah, I would go, this is what you want me to do? You want me to go talk? No, I ain't trying to do that. So I put that down. Then I tried to read the New Testament, which reading about Yahusha was always cool. That was fun, honestly. And then reading any of the other books, I never really understood them. I didn't know what they were saying. Reading Revelation was super scary. Seeing about dragons and locusts and all this type of stuff, that was all definitely scary. And then so I went back to the Old Testament. The Old Testament just seemed to me like a bunch of stories and a bunch of like maybe war stories or just crazy different things that was going on, but it wasn't pertaining to us. So it was cool for me to read these. But as I read them, it would say, you must do this forever. You must do this forever in all your generations. And I kept reading it, and I'm like, how come I'm reading this, but I don't see us doing this? And I remember one day specifically bringing it to my father because he asked, and I said, hey, it says we're supposed to do this. Yeah, we're not doing this. Why don't we do this? And he said, that's a good question. Now, I remember it was like a few weeks later that he preached on this specifically and said, hey, we're not supposed to do this. We're supposed to be doing this. And to be specific, I'm talking about the holidays and the holy days. We're specifically talking about Halloween and the Christmas and all those pagan, and I'm just going to say any of the holidays that are outside of what the word specifies. We're supposed to be doing what was already established and not just adding or doing something random and trying to stamp yahuah or yahusha's name on top of it. He already established and he already set apart what was holy. We're not to just add and take away. And the church actually agreed, but then they said, nah, we just gonna keep doing what we doing. Now, that was the first time that I seen like blatant hypocrisy, because I didn't understand how you could tell somebody, hey, this is wrong, and then continue to walk in it. That didn't really make any sense to me. So from that day, I'm not gonna say that I thought the people in there were bad or anything, because I honestly don't think that the people in there are bad or anybody is bad. I just think that if you choose to compromise yourself willingly, then that's when you leave room to be deceived, and that's where you leave room for the enemy to live inside of you. Now, by no means am I trying to make myself seem like I'm better than anybody, but this is what's important. When you know you're wrong, you acknowledge it, and then you change. When you know you're wrong, you acknowledge it, and then you continue to do the same thing. You actually are telling anybody and everybody that you actually don't care. Now, this is super, super important when it comes to the Father, because especially if you're claiming to be the people that are supposed to point people to the Father, and what you're doing is telling them, hey, I know this is wrong, but it's okay. Yah will forgive me, even though you know what you're doing is wrong and you just continue to walk in it on purpose, that doesn't really make any sense to me. What my father did when it came to sin is he definitely would have grace. But if you keep doing it, then there's no grace. Like, I don't understand where we get that notion from, where we think that as long as we have faith that Yah knows our hearts. I don't think people actually read their Bibles, because when you look at the Old Testament and you see what happened when people sinned, there was a grave consequence for it, and there was no toleration for it. Also, you can't be in his presence with sin. So I don't understand where we get this notion from. I know, or I think what a lot of people do is they try to put their own heart and they put their own feelings into this. But Yahuah already told us. He said, he says it in the very, very beginning. He says this in Genesis, that the man's heart, their inclinations are evil even from their youth. And it's repeated all throughout the Old Testament, which is where the truth comes from, which is what Yahusha, who people claim to follow, affirmed. Yet you're trying to listen to your own heart and saying, yeah, Yah knows my heart. Yes, he knows that it's evil. What are you talking about? That's the whole reason why he gave us the law, to change our heart. The reason why I look at this so harshly and so serious is because of what I just said, but also keep in mind there's only two teams. There's a team of the truth and there's a team of the lies. Now, if you're on the team of the truth and you stumble, that's the whole reason why we have Yahusha. You can, by faith, and look at what happened to him and realize, hey, this is what I deserve because I transgressed this law. This is why he had to come and die for us. And he also had to be the high priest so that he could, be like a mediator for us. And you would have to study what the law and what the high priest did and how clean the high priest had to be. That's why he had to also be sinless. He had to do two things. He had to be sinless because you can't have sin going in the presence of the Father. And then on top of that, the offering that you had to give had to be blemishless. So that's why he had to come to be both things. That's why he had to die, and then he resurrected, and that's what he's doing currently right now. But that's for you guys who just think he just died for no reason, and he's like, I don't really understand what it is you think. People just say, oh, you just have faith in Yahusha. Having faith in Yahusha means you know what the law says. He didn't come to change the law. He came to fulfill it, meaning the law was already there. You dying or you sinning, transgressing against the law, you still have to have a sacrifice. Now, the sacrifice for which we have is not enough. So you have to have faith in Yahusha dying, that was enough. And once you realize who Yahusha actually was, you realize how it actually is enough for you. That's what faith is. Faith doesn't mean you by faith can do whatever it is you want and then try to stamp Yahusha on it and say, Yah knows my heart. That's not what it's talking about. It's very intentional. You can't just make it into whatever you want it to be or mean it to say. It's very intentional. You cannot try to change truth, because if you change truth, I know what team you're on. You're not on my Father's team, and I don't take lightly people claiming my Father's name and then walking otherwise. That's why when he says don't take my name in vain, that's what he's talking about. He's not saying oh my God. He's not saying that. You don't put Yah's name on something where he ain't put his name. And that's what he's talking about when he says don't use my name in vain. It becomes very simple. It's just, if you believe the same way I believe, I think it's in 1 John, where it's like, if you understand what he's saying, then just walk it out. And walking it out means walking the same way Yahusha did when he was on the earth. And if that's not what you're doing, then it's obviously going to show in your fruits and what goes on in your body. So I always use the food example here. Now, you can't preach to me the truth and then be like 200 pounds overweight. That doesn't really make sense. If you can't put if you can't discipline your body, you can't discipline your flesh, then how can your spirit grow? That won't make sense to me. You lose all credibility once you stumble and then just keep stumbling. If you keep stumbling, it's gonna show. If you stumble once and you keep going, then it's fine. So what I mean by that is, if you eat honey buns every single day, it's gonna show you're gonna be fat. Now, if you eat a honey bun once every six months, you're not gonna be fat. The point is to not eat the honey buns. Yes, you stumbled, but to keep going, keep fighting it. Eventually you might be able to give them up fully. That's the goal. But when you sin and you keep sinning on purpose, it's gonna show, and you're gonna have consequences. Because now when you fat, you sluggish, you tired, you don't look attractive. There's a lot of different things. You got heart issues. You got you might have diabetes. You might have after a while, if you have a acidic body and you got a bunch of inflammation, you're gonna get cancer. You're gonna get all these different things, and that's what I mean when it says it's gonna show. So even for the people who claim like, oh, well, it's okay to eat pork, then Yah done already sanctified this, and they try to use different verses, that doesn't make any sense. Eat it and watch what happens. Yah would not give me something that's gonna kill you. When you read the word and you do what it says, it's gonna be nourishment to your body, nourishment to your bones. As I said before, Yah has created this. He already laid down the rules for what it's gonna do, or how to make your life fruitful, long, and good. Yet you try to throw Yah's name on something that he said didn't do, and then wonder why you're in the predicaments that you're in, or then try to pray and say, Yah, help me, or you try to ask people for prayer, Yah, please help me, Yah, please help me, but you're not doing what he said. I wouldn't listen to you. He not gonna listen to you. He gonna say, go ask them guys that you asking on for help. It's very serious, and I don't like how it's like Christianity, the church does not hold people accountable for what they do. They say, do what you want, then come back, and then y'all just gonna fix it. No, you can come back, but you still have to deal with what you did, unless he decides to have mercy on you. He's not just gonna give mercy to anybody. You're only gonna give mercy to somebody who's really, really fighting. But if you're not fighting, ain't nobody gonna give you no mercy. If you go to jail and let's say you beat somebody up and now you in jail, then you go to jail and every other day you fighting, and then you go to the judge and say, hey, can I have some mercy? No. Did you learn your lesson? If you learned your lesson, you're gonna be different. It's gonna show. You didn't learn your lesson, so you gotta stay in there a little bit longer. Keep fighting. See what that gets you. You're gonna end up dead. Now what? That's why it's serious. You can't just be playing around with stuff and then try to come to Yahusha like, oh, please save me. It's dangerous. But before I keep going, but I'm trying not to make this video probably gonna be multiple parts, but that's besides the point. One thing that I learned, going back to what I learned in the church, was truth shakes people, and truth makes people choose a side depending on how comfortable they are, or how comfortable they are with being comfortable. And when you do that, it does something to you. We are supposed to be, for lack of better words, making our flesh a slave to us. So the things in which we want to do, we're supposed to deny ourselves all the time, right? And that's what grows your spirit. The things that Yah told us to do, once you do them, they're gonna produce something. It's a spiritual book, right? Now, when you do that, as I just said, it's going to produce something in you. But if you do them with the wrong heart, or you don't fully understand what it is you're doing, it's going to turn you into something, and it's going to allow you to let deception into your life. That's why I said earlier, it's very important that you choose truth and not a lie. And when you do figure out you're in a lie, acknowledge it and repent, and you turn the other way, because a little bit of leaven will leaven the whole lump, which is what happened with the Sadducees. They misinterpreted, or they had a different attitude, or they actually weren't doing what the law said. Because as I said before, if you are following the law, it's going to change you into something. It's going to turn you to something. It's going to point you to something. And if you're not doing it, then you're going to miss the point, and you're not going to see what you're supposed to be seeing. Now, I just brought that up to kind of show you I'm going to do a compare and contrast between Pharisees/Sadducees in the church. Now, when you go to church, usually you got to go through different classes. You got to go to like seminary school before you got to show something before you're able to get up and preach and go out, and because the goal, you're definitely going to go out into the world and probably do different things. So they try to bring you up. Now, the way they bring you up is using doctrine, just like what I just told you. You can't preach to somebody something, and then when they bring up the word, which is where you're supposed to get your doctrine, you preach against that. Yahusha said, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. If you don't know how leaven works, it spreads, it's going to multiply. That's why you got to nip it at the butt. If you think about anything in life, that's why when I told you before, truth applies to everything. That's why I love it so much. If you look at bacteria starts as usually one little single thing, or just a little bit, and over time, if you don't treat it, it spreads and multiplies. That's how sicknesses work. That's how lies work. Once there's one little lie, it's going to multiply and turn into something great, and it's going to be out of control, and it's going to be very hard for you to come back to the truth, or come back to how it was supposed to be in the very beginning. Now, I'm going to give you a personal example for you guys who still don't know what I'm talking about. If you are involved in sexual activity when you was a kid, and I'm going to give you a personal example. I was, from a very, 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 very young age. Because of that, because we weren't able to nip it in the butt young, it turned into something. Now, what that turned into could be porn. What that turned into could be masturbation. What that could turn into is fornication. What that could turn into is just a whole bunch of different things, because it got the door got opened up as a kid, very, very young, wasn't able to nip it in the butt back then. So growing older, if you don't stop it, then it's going to turn into something much, much worse, and it's going to be harder for you to deal with it. So when you get older and you wonder why you in the world don't really help, because the world sexualizes every single thing in the world. That's why Yah says don't be of the world. That's why you gotta censor yourself. That's why you can't just go out and watch everything and do everything and be anywhere and just say, oh, well, Yah knows my heart, I'm just here for this. Know that you're evil. You're evil. You are evil. So anytime somebody says that to me, you don't even know yourself. You're evil. You don't read the word that you claim to follow. If you claim to follow that, if you don't claim to follow it, then cool, go do your thing, homie. But if you claim to be about my father and you doing that, then I can't be around you. You're a liar. Please don't go around lying on my father's name. So I brought up the church, and I brought up the Pharisees and Sadducees to kind of show you something. Yahusha said, beware the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And he also said that our righteousness must surpass them, or else you won't enter the kingdom. It's because they're not. Like, as a person, what do I think? I don't think the church is so evil. I don't feel like they're evil, but that's just how I feel. I have to judge you by what the word says and not by what I'm saying. Yah always tells us not to judge with partiality. And unfortunately, what that means is there is only two teams, like I said before. Now, if your intentions are pure, when somebody brings the truth to you, you are open enough to listening to that. and accepting whatever that is, and you're gonna change it. That's why he says be like a kid. If you're like a kid is very impressionable. They know that they don't really know anything, so when they get something, they're gonna walk it out and they're going to do it because they're a kid. They don't really know any better. They just assume that somebody else might know better than them. And this is very, 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 very scary when you have the church who is, and for lack of better words, or I'm not even gonna say for lack of better words, they're bringing in spiritual babies and telling them certain things, and they're leading them, and they are like children at first, but then when you train them up and you train them up in doctrine that's false, you turn them into what Yahusha says is 2 times the child of hell that you already were. And that is very, very, very important and very, very serious, because you leading people into the wrong spot. That's why this is serious, and it's no time to be playing around. And I don't really have time to be playing around and arguing with people. You can say whatever it is you want to say or do whatever it is you want to do, but don't lead other people into that, please. In 1 John 3, verse 9 through I think 11 or 10 or something like that. I'm gonna put the scripture up on the screen for you to read, but it pretty much says anybody who practices sin continually is not born of Yahuah. And I just gave you an example of the church. If they are telling you to practice something continually outside of what Yahuah is saying, and then saying, oh, well, Yah knows my heart, it goes on to say, by this you're going to know who the children of the devil are. It's obvious. That's why I don't really care about what you think about them or whatever you're saying. It's obvious who they are. The word actually says it in itself. Now, when you read James, and everything that I'm saying, I'm gonna try to put the scriptures up on the screen for you. But when you read James, he's saying, if you read, the people who read the word and then go do opposite is like the people who look at a mirror, look at the perfect version of themselves, and then they go, yeah, I forgot what I'm supposed to look like. I'm gonna just do me, and then I'm gonna stamp Yah on it and say Yah knows my heart. It doesn't make any sense to me. We reading from the same book, and you're not, somehow you don't see. But what I've also come to realize is they don't see, or you don't see, simply because you don't want to see. The same way I said earlier, if you're a Pharisee or you're a Sadducee, and you just look at the law and you misinterpret it, you're not going to be able to see. The same way they weren't able to see who Yahusha was, because they decided to deceive themselves. And with them deceiving themselves, it becomes very, very, very important again, because the next time Yahusha comes, he's coming with a sword. And if he's coming with a sword and you're walking in the wrong way, when these new things, because there's prophecies and things that are supposed to happen. Now, if you're following the wrong thing, when those prophecies become fulfilled, you're not going to be able to see them. If you're walking the wrong way and you're following what the world is saying and what the world is portraying, then guess what? When these prophecies become fulfilled, you're not going to see it. You're going to miss it. That's why you can't play around with this stuff. You have to be in your word by yourself and allow the Holy Spirit to guide you and show you. Otherwise, you are not going to be able to see. Don't go to seminary school. Don't go to Bible school and do all that stuff and just assume what they're showing you is right. Because even when you go back to the origins, I gave you a video before and said why foundations are very, very important. The origins of all of that stuff comes from something that's not even Yah. The Roman Catholic Church is not from Yah. All the doctrine that is made, all of that stuff originated from the Roman Catholic Church. It's not from Yah. The only thing that was from Yah was the culture of the Israelites, which was the Old Testament, which is the Torah, which is where we're supposed to get everything from. But what we do instead is we read books from all these other people who have been indoctrinated by all this random stuff, and then try to stamp Yah on it and then say that we're fine. You're gonna miss it. And when you miss it, what he says about missing it for the things that are going to come in the future, if you miss it this time, you ain't no saving you. You finna be looking like the same way Noah was on that ark, with the people in there like, probably, help me, open up the ship, help me please. And I'm being funny about it, but I'm not, because it's serious. Get your life right. Stop playing around. Stop just sinning and thinking that you're gonna be okay. You're supposed to do the word, do what it says in the law, and when you perfect it, it's gonna turn you into something. And before I go any further, I'm gonna put a disclaimer here. I'm not a Hebrew Israelite, but I do believe in the Torah. Look at Peter, which they claim all the time. Peter he always had an issue with people who were not like him. Did he do the law? Yes, he did, but he missed it. He still missed it partially. That's why Yah had to show him different things. That's why Yah gave him the dream about the what was it? The animals, the unclean animals. It wasn't no food dream for the Christians. Yah would not tell us that something was good and then tell us that it's bad 2 seconds later. You're telling people, you're showing people just by what you're saying right there that Yah changes his mind, and he already said that he does not change his mind. So you don't read your word. And then to the people who look to Peter and look to all of these different disciples, I'm not even gonna say to these people, to the Hebrew Israelites who say, well, Yah hates Esau, Yah hates this. Yah brought salvation to the Gentiles through Yahusha. And when he brought salvation to the Gentiles through Yahusha, he gave them the ability, like, Yah will use those people to do whatever he needs them to do. It's not for you to sit around and judge people. You know who they serve by what they do. So Gentiles do have the ability to make it in as long as they're serving the Father. I don't know what this, I don't understand, and I honestly want to talk, because where do you get the idea that that is the truth? From what it looks like from the outside, everybody calls them a hate group. And then they claim that they don't hate people, yet the way they talk and act, you look like a hate group. I'd never seen Yah or Yahusha do that. I never seen him going around saying, well, these people is this, and these people is this, and these people is this. Where do you get that from? You're mad because of what happened before. What happened before, when we got sent in slavery and all these different things, was our fault. He just used other people to do that for us. I mean, do that to us. He already prophesied it. So if you're going to be mad at somebody, be mad at yourself, because Yah already said that to us. Stop pointing your hate at people. That's why when they say, I think it's in 1 John where it says, love, I'm sorry, and I'm paraphrasing. He says you can't hate your brother. Your brother does not mean black. Your brother means anybody who follows your Father. And you know who that is by what they do. So if I have a white person, an Asian person, whatever type of person, and they're doing what my Father has told them to do, then they are my brother. I don't care what race you are. So this idea that I don't know, man. I gotta stop the video here, because I'm probably at like an hour at this point, but I'll be back. Hopefully y'all got something out of this one. It was a little bit more serious video. The other one's a little bit more lighthearted for the people who's new, but this is that middle ground, and this is also to the people who've been in it. So I really hope this I really hope you go back and you study and you think about the things that I say, and stop playing with your life. Stop playing around, please. Ain't no time for playing. We gonna have plenty of time for peace when Yahusha comes back, but right now it's not time for that. It's time to do what he say. It's the whole duty of man. But either way, I say all this with love, and I truly love y'all. Please. When I was a child, all I prayed for was wisdom. But as I felt the sorrow, then I tried to play the victim. You can't play the system, trying to ask for help, but this is what you're giving. You can keep complaining, I'm trying to spread the truth.